All right. Well, it is time. It is time. Welcome. My name is Eric Renz Whitmore. I'm with the City of Santa Fe's Office of Economic Development, and you are welcome to OED Online. OED Online is a monthly video interview series where we talk with representatives of some of the organizations that have resources to help business in Santa Fe, but really throughout New Mexico as well. Learn more about those resources and learn more about the organizations that provide them. We're going to wait for a couple more minutes. We had a healthy showing of registrations, but it's going to take a little bit before I think they all get in the room. So in the meantime, let's see, what I'll do is I will ask for folks I'm going to type as I speak. Please put a little bit about yourself in the chat. All right. So yes, it looks like we've got some folks coming in. We're very excited about today, and I'll give the real introduction in just a second or two. But let's see, my boss here at Office of Economic Development, Joanna Nelson, was her previous role was with State Economic Development, and she was, in a way, my go-to person for several things. But one of the things that she was particularly knowledgeable about was different resources for funding. Yes, Joaquin, great to see you there. We'll be getting you up on stage a little bit later. Was that she was instrumental in a lot of the things in and around financing. So when she saw, I think, a fairly recent announcement regarding the Collateral Assistance Program, she was adamant that we find a way to get that information to our constituents and look for other ways to promote it, because I think it's a really, really valuable program. Thanks, Gerard. Good to see you. Pam, great to see you in the room. Some folks I don't know. Yeah, again, if you have a chance, go ahead and in the chat, share, if there's an organization that you're part of, where you're joining us from here today. All right. Well, I just got a heads up that Joanna won't be able to join us. Although, sometimes she's able to sneak into those. But yeah, so we're seeing some good people in the chat. If you have a chance, please go ahead and put, oh, that Gerard. Great to see you in there. So let me move on to the next stage. Oh, one thing, a little bit of extra housekeeping. So the way that we do these is we ask for folks to, in order to help us manage what we've got going on here, we ask, thanks, Rob. Oh, yeah, good to see you. Is we ask folks, if you have questions, we're going to hold questions until the end of presentations in general. But if you have questions, go ahead and put those in the chat. And what that allows me and anybody else from the OED team here to do is we can kind of sometimes compress those, or we can feed them into the conversation or in the Q&A once those presentations are done. So I'll ask you to go ahead and do that. Let's see. All right. And without too much further ado, trying to bring up a different window here. And that's not always my friend. So what I wanted to do is I'm going to go ahead and bring Sam up. I'm going to make him a co-host first. So, well, he's already make him a co-host, but also get his video ready to go. Excellent. I'm going to remove the spotlight for myself and give it a little bit of background. So I had the pleasure, well, first of all, my boss here is a huge fan. And so she said I needed to get in touch. But the more that I learned, and I was able to see Sam speak at an event on alternative forms of funding last week, is just the width and breadth of his experience from a couple different sides of the, a couple of different sides of this financing landscape. both from the private sector, from banking, and also now in public service with the state New Mexico Economic Development Department. Let me read a couple different things. So I'm going to look off camera for a second. So before beginning public service, Mr. Collins was a career banker who served as president and chief executive officer of the Union Financial Corporation and its subsidiaries, Union Savings Bank and Union Savings Bank Mortgage Company in Albuquerque, and that was for 15 years. He was also president of the San Luis Trust Bank in San Luis Obispo, California, and the vice president controller at Pioneer Bank in Roswell, New Mexico. So what I love is that his background and his experience it combines the public sector with several years of senior level banking management and a real understanding of the assets that are necessary in order to help businesses grow, but also to help the communities that grow as well. So we're really, really happy to have him here to speak, to join us here today. He's also a native New Mexican, born in Roswell, New Mexico. So just really appreciate you joining us here today. Let's see, I think you're unmuted and ready to go. Let's go ahead and maybe, see if you can bring up your slides in a second. But yeah, we'll just hand it off to you. Thanks very much for joining us.
All right. Well, thank you very much for having me. I really appreciate you taking, all of you for taking the time out of your day to listen to me of all things. I mean, goodness gracious. I appreciate it again. And by the way, Johanna Nelson is an absolute superstar. I was going to say she's a badass, but that wouldn't be appropriate, so I won't say that. But you guys in Santa Fe are fortunate to have such an amazing resource there at the city. So I'm here to talk about the Collateral Assistance Program. It's an amazing program that I think is the best kept secret around. Just to make sure, I assume you can see my slide.
Yes, we've got it.
Okay, super. I'd hate to be going along and have no slides, which the last presentation we did last week.
Oh, that's right. I had
I had no slides at all. So it was like, that's why it was so choppy. So, so don't judge me. The Collateral Assistance Program is a super program. It's funded by a federal fund from ARPA. And in essence, it was set up to provide assistance to businesses. You always hear about the government supporting Wall Street. Well, this is a program to support Main Street. You know, if you're like most New Mexico businesses, when you decide you're going to go into business, you got to pass the hat to friends and family. And if you're not fortunate to have generational wealth, then it can be difficult. And if you, go into business and you have the space you want to do your business in, and you need to go buy your equipment and inventory, and you go to your lender and say, this is what I want to buy, then they look at that collateral and go, well, gee, I don't know how, how much of that can be easily turned back into cash if we have a problem. So what we do in the simplest terms is we provide cash collateral. What we do is we open a bank account, a certificate of deposit at a bank, and pledge it as additional collateral to your loan. We don't want an ownership in your business, nothing else. It's a way for a business owner to get the loan dollars they need if they have a collateral shortfall. Our goal, I'm all about agendas. Our agenda is to increase jobs in New Mexico. And that's all we're about. So let me step through an example. And the example I used the other day was for a fast food restaurant. You're going to open let's say your Dunkin' Donuts franchise, right? And so you're gonna have to buy freezers, and I don't know how they make the donuts back there, but you do all that stuff. Let's say it's $100,000. say you've got $20,000 saved up and you go into your lender and say, I need to borrow $80,000. The lender looks at that and goes, I don't think these freezers are going to resell dollar for dollar if I have to get rid of them. So I'm only going to loan you 60 cents on the dollar. So suddenly then, instead of needing $20,000 down, you need $40,000 because they're only going to loan you 60. So what we do is your lender can come to us and say, hey, this is a good deal. We just need a little help with the collateral so that the borrower doesn't have to have as much down payment. They can come to us in this example and say, will you pledge an additional $20,000 to help us get to the $80,000 loan amount that the borrower needs? That's what we do. And it's the best thing. I mean, like I said, it's like having generational wealth, but you don't have to go and hit up your mother-in-law for the money. If you've ever asked your mother-in-law for a loan, it's tough. But anyway, here are some of the program guidelines, and these are on our website. The uses are listed there. That's all the stuff you need pretty much to own a business. The biggest ineligible uses are, you can't use for cannabis, you can't use it for real estate investing and flipping houses and some of those sorts of things that are, not unusual. And also the building has to be owner occupied if you use it for real estate, at least 51%. This is the process, which don't want to spend too much time on the process. I'll spend a little time on the process, but just go to your lender. The lender underwrites the loan, submits it to us. We review it, approve it. We provide an approval. The lender gets ready to close. We open the CD. You get your loan dollars, and we go down the line. That's it. And all this is on our website if you need it. These are all the groups that we're targeting. Suddenly, if you're a socially and economically disadvantaged individual, which are all the groups listed here, our mandate is to help all the people that we can, and the state gets more money the more people that we assist in this group, and including rural residents. So come all and bring a friend. These are some targeted industries that the governor has identified, which we get more aggressive if we're helping a firm in that in one of those industries. This is, for example purposes, some of the type transactions we've done this year. A $60,000 loan, we pledged a $30,000 CD. It was a sustainable agricultural business that needed a revolving line of credit. And they had a lot of new contracts that increased their receivables. They needed an operating line of credit. So we pledged a $30,000 CD. They got a $60,000 line of credit, and away they went. So startups, an employee purchasing a garage, all sorts of cool stuff. These are some other things that our office does. These are the superstars that do that work. And I didn't look at the clock when I started, so I will stop. And, there's nothing worse than being the second one on the program and the first one goes long and burns all your time. So I won't be that guy. So.
Thank you, Sam.
Well, I was glad to hear a laugh from Joaquin there. Let's see, I'll put up your, let me put the spotlight again, and I'll actually add myself in there. Oh, good, we can do that. I love it when we're able to use the technology we've got at hand. So I'm wondering, it felt like there was either new energy or new funding that was available that came out this year. I'm wondering, because I believe there was a program before, but I might be unclear on that. How has the program changed, or is it just that there's a new influx of money and then putting the word out more?
Eric, I should let you do the presentation. Absolutely. The original SSBCI program, State Small Business Credit Initiative, was funded in 2010. This is a new program that was just introduced last year. The state got $75 million to put out to help New Mexico small business. 9 million of that 75 million is to this collateral support program. So that's why you're seeing some new emphasis and why we're beating on our chest. We've got more money, we can do bigger deals. We're more aggressive. We want to get it out. We use it or we lose it.
Yeah, and we absolutely want to use it. Let's see, I've got a question, and I forgot. I've asked people to put questions in the chat, but we've got a good question in the Q&A section. So Pat asks, we're a New Mexico-based business. They're building a brewery in Santa Fe. So I want to get your contact information. I should have it someplace. They're taking out an SBA-backed 504 loan, working with a New Mexico-based CDC. That's the Enchantment Land CDC. And
ELCDC.
Yep. Yeah, but they're working with a national bank based out of Missouri. And one of the things that I know about this program is there's a set of lending institutions that's based in New Mexico that you have to run the loan through. Can you describe that a little bit more? And that's one of the reasons why we invited Joaquin, is because he's part of one of those organizations. But I'd like to get Sam's answer on this in the meantime.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, the institutions have to be approved to use the program. They have to be not based in New Mexico, but be domiciled or have a presence in New Mexico. If you're already doing an SBA 504, you don't really need us because the bank is doing a 50% first mortgage. The SBA is doing a 40% second mortgage. The 10% down is the minimum equity contribution that you're going to have, and we can't fund 100% of the deal. So you've got to have some skin in the game, as they say, and that 10% is the skin. If you need to pivot or want to pivot to a local bank, there are plenty of banks in town that would, or lenders in town that'll eat that up. Would love to have that deal.
Right. Great, thanks. Let's see, and if we've got any other questions, I'm curious. Let's see. Trying to get the word out is one of the things, of course, that we're trying to do here today. Are there? I guess I'm trying to think of other ways to get the word out. Because we often hear from companies that are saying that they're having difficulty getting funding. Oftentimes, when you kind of dig into that a little bit more deeply, there's either a particular reason or there's something that they're trying to do that it just the structure isn't right. Yes, what's I've kind of lost my question here. Let me pull up a different one. Let's see. A different question is, I think I know the answer to this. One of our questioners is asking if there's banks or lenders that you might recommend. Is that just the list?
Yeah, anyone on the list, look there. And even if they're not on the list, if you have an existing relationship with your lender, then bring them to the dance.
That's a great point.
I've had plenty of borrowers that say, hey, this is my banker. They're not signed up.
Yeah.
Let's sign them up and do the deal, because we can run this process concurrently, get the lender approved while we're working on your deal. So it won't slow the process down at all. If they're an existing lender in New Mexico, we've not turned down anybody to my knowledge.
Oh, that's great. I did not know that.
That's a bank, credit union, or CDFI. Great.
Let's see. And just, I guess, for information, if there's anything special that you know of, I happen to know Gerard. We've met with him before. He's looking to purchase a van or bus for transportation excursion services. He runs a tour company. I'm not sure if you've got any banker expertise to throw in there.
Well, yeah. The first stop on the process is to go to your lender and see how much they will loan you. And if the problem is there's not enough collateral, that the the bus is worth, or they won't loan as much as you need them to loan on the bus.
Yeah. Yeah, good point.
Then that's when you bring me to the dance.
Right.
So yeah, absolutely. It's a business purpose. We'd absolutely be involved in that.
Different question in the chat. Gerard says, thank you. That's great to hear. Let's see. That's my editorial. It's great to hear. Let's see. John is asking, how long is this opportunity? How long would this last? Is it just based on the amount of funds that are in, and when does that expire? And is there a possibility for that to renew?
Well, the program is a 10-year program, which is really cool,
Mhm.
but it can get used up. We've got milestones we have to meet. The feds gave us a third of the money up front. We've got 3 years total to use up that first third,
Mhm.
and then they give us a second third, and then we have
That's
3
right.
years to use that up, and on and on. So our anniversary is tomorrow at the end of the first year. So, but if
Mhm.
you have a need, the sooner the better, because you never know when they're going to have another one of those budget type standoffs, and the
Yeah.
feds decide to claw back the money that had been promised. Congress
that's
can do whatever they want to do.
That is a great point. And that's, I mean, I think part of the question, or I've been in some version of economic development or community building for, I don't know, maybe not as long as you've been a banker, but it's
There's
been a
no
little
way.
while. So one of the things that always occurs to me is, from an economic development standpoint, you want people, there's almost an incentive to want people to grow, maybe sometimes faster than they're comfortable with, partially because there's this knowledge that there's a better opportunity now that may not be there in the future. So I think recognizing that, we need to have a number of companies that do take advantage of this, throughout New Mexico, in order for the opportunity to continue to get that next tranche of funding. I think that's something that's on our minds, at least in the back of our minds, when we're thinking about all this. And are there other people out there who are, not necessarily direct connections with me, but are connected to other people in the room, or other people who might see this video not far down the road? Are there other people they know that are, maybe they've been thinking about expanding their business, but they've been kind of, waiting for a good time? So I think part of the message that I'm hearing is that now is a good time to, at the very least, explore what that loan might look like with a lender.
Absolutely. I mean, there's never been this much money made available to small business. And so, I think the easy answer for a lot of people is, well, I don't have any money. I'm not rich. I wasn't born with a silver spoon. Not all capital is financial. Some of it is intellectual, and being resourceful, and educating yourself, and knowing what's available, and taking advantage of it. And if you're here today, you're one of those people. And so seeds of the day, reach out and see what's available, and make it work for you. That's why it's out there. That's why the government gave us this money.
Yeah, I think, let's see. Well, Pat shared another part of his question. Some of this we might want to take offline, but one of the questions, is it looks like the size, I'll read it. Due to the construction portion of the project and the size of the project, they weren't able to find a New Mexico bank that would take on the project. And that's why they were going with the national SBA lender. So I'm not sure if is that something that you've heard from, say, other lenders, or from other people who are approaching the program, that they need something that's got a little bit more larger size of a loan?
No, I've never, and I don't know how big a deal this is, but I've never, I've never seen a deal that that our banks couldn't handle. So,
Is it useful to get, I mean, how can I put it? Depending on where you are in your business and stage and all that, sometimes you don't want too much advice. Sometimes it's good to kind of check in with the various parties that are around. I think it's not bad necessarily. So if you're in the city of Santa Fe, we'd love to know about what's going on just to see if there's something that we can make available. I think the other thing that I'd suggest is sometimes and Sam already mentioned, there's a, how many regions are there? Is it 7 regions? Do I recall that right? Or is it 8?
It is 6.
It's a lot.
Yeah, it's
6.
6.
But yeah, so if you're in the Santa Fe area, that's Peter Mitchell and Paige Ryan, if I recall correctly.
Exactly.
Sometimes they might be aware of another path or another lender or some other way to maybe cajole or find ways of making the numbers work. But because I know I've seen Peter pull some rabbits out of a hat from time to time.
Well, we've got a real resourceful
Mhm.
bunch, and as for
Mhm.
the SBA 504, one of the things we do is during construction, we can pledge the CD as collateral to help the lender,
Yes.
because most lenders don't want to do a 90% construction loan.
Uh-huh.
I mean, they're cool once the building's built and the SBA funds and pays them down to 50%. But during construction, a lot of times they're a little sheepish to go up to 90% because if there's a cost overrun, price of oil went up, so the parking lot got expensive
Uh-huh.
to repair, all the wood burned in Canada, so
Construction's gotten wild in the last couple of years.
so what we can do is we can pledge a cap CD during construction, get the building built, and then when the 504 funds, it pays us off. So if it's got to be owner occupied at least 51%.
That's right. That's right.
So we can play.
I think first of all, I guess I'll give a little quick last call for any questions in the chat. And let's see, we're going to bring up Joaquin in a second. He's with the Loan Fund, which is one of the funds that's been identified or is already working with state economic development and already doing a lot of deals in New Mexico. So we're going to invite him up in a second. But Sam, I'm wondering, is there any last? You shared, I think, a link in the chat. I mentioned in the chat earlier, we'll share your slides and contact information sometime soon. I'm thinking this is probably the next week or so. We'll actually have some space, a playlist or some space on the City of Santa Fe's YouTube page. So in there, we'll share information about what's been provided here today and contact information, other information like that. Anything else that we should make sure that people are aware about there, Sam?
I think just reach out if it's if it's possible. It's kind of like when you apply for a job that you're not sure you fully qualify for. Just give me a call and say, "Hey, Sam, this is what we're thinking about. What do you think?" And at least know you're talking to somebody that's not trying to sell you something. I'm I'm not working on a commission. I'm a state employee, and so I have no incentive to sell you something you don't need. I just want to do what's best for the citizens of the state of New Mexico.
Yeah, it's economic development, the work that we do, it really is in service. Service is front and center, and I don't think there's anybody who's a better example of that, frankly, than Sam. So I want to thank you for joining us here today. We can let you go. You're free to stay around if you like. Happy to continue, but we're going to bring let's see, we're going to bring Joaquin onto the stage in a second here. Let's see, and it looks like you've got 2 different.
Yeah, I forwarded my link.
You're doing the right thing. You're making sure you've got connectivity. Let's see, we're going to go ahead and actually, if you don't mind, let's go ahead and turn your camera on. So I add the right one as a spotlight. There we go. Great.
This is the real me.
The real you. Well, it's great to see you. Let's
you.
see. Actually, we had, some of you may know, we'd scheduled something with Joaquin a couple months ago, but we had to reschedule that. This is not maybe necessarily that full presentation, but one of the things we thought was important is, Sam and the state, I think, are really, great and, have their hearts and heads and everything, all that in the right place. But one of the things that when I talk with businesses, they also want to know, well, okay, let me talk to somebody who's actually going to be helping me put the loan together. And how do I get that process started? And even just getting into the position where I might be able to go after that collateral assistance program funding. So we thought it would be useful to bring in Joaquin. And I'm not sure, I wasn't quite sure if you had a deck. Do we want to bring that up? Okay, great. So
yeah, no, it's too much
perfect.
to put on a deck, and we're just gonna go high level today.
Cool deal. Well, do you want me, why don't I'll just gonna put the spotlight on you for a couple minutes, and then I'll come back on, and I'm sure that I've got some questions, and just like before, we'll ask for folks to do any questions in the chat.
Yeah, and feel free to stop me for clarification at any point.
Cool.
This is just let me just preface everything by saying, with loan fund, each situation is unique. Okay. So that's why it's very hard to sort of put it all in a neat little box. But I will give you the high level view, and then we can go from there. A little bit about loan fund, and by the way, thank you, Erica, thank you, Sam, for setting this up, and the CAP program is, I guess I'm being redundant, but CAP is a fantastic tool out there, since collateral is often a sticking point. But in general, let me just tell you a little bit about loan fund. We've been around over 30 years. We're a nonprofit just focused on New Mexico. We've helped thousands of New Mexicans to start businesses and retain and grow jobs. Like Sam and Eric, our goals are to improve the economy of New Mexico, to create more jobs, and generally make New Mexico a stronger place and a better place to live in. We have lent out over $100 million in the 30 plus years that we've been in business. 60% or so are minority entrepreneurs. Roughly 45% are women. In general, we approach things from a nonprofit perspective, and that's why it's sometimes a little bit vague, because we're flexible, and that sometimes that makes it harder to explain, and sometimes it makes us a little bit more, in a good way, I think, intrusive with an applicant and their application, because we really want to get to know them. We want to make sure they succeed, but like all lenders, we're risk averse, and in order to be able to pay it forward to the next guy, we need to get paid. So anyway, that's a brief thing about loan fund. And we do loans for multiple purposes, from $5,000 to roughly $1 million. We lend to nonprofits. Except for the similar industries that Sam mentioned, like gambling and cannabis and all those so-called sin industries, we try to avoid. But anyway, like I said, each situation is unique, and often the first step in all of this is to review our application. Okay, see what is being asked for. But keep in mind that, in essence, and this is something that I think a lot of applicants don't know, it's essentially a sales process, right? This is the idea here is to present yourself and your business and your idea and sell it to the lender, sell it to loan fund. Like I said before, lenders are risk averse, and their businesses, they don't like to lose money, and they don't give away money. So they analyze each situation to try to determine that a person and their business is a good bet, that there's a great likelihood that they're going to get repaid. And so that goes into all the analysis of the financials and even the business idea. Let me talk a little bit about the financial viability that you mentioned there. Really, think of it as, and we've added a few C's here, but in general, it's like usually 5 C's of lending. We kind of have 7, right? There's capacity, ability of the business. There's capital. Do they have cash flow? Do they have collateral? Collateral is another condition. There's market conditions. If we see that, like for example, during COVID, there was a lot of restaurants, especially if they didn't have a drive-through window, it was really hard to stay in business at all. So that's an example of the conditions of the market. At that point in time, it would have been very hard for us to make a loan for somebody trying to start a business. That's an obvious one. Character, that's sort of a vague one, but is do you have do you seem to have your head on straight? Do you seem to understand the business? Do you have experience? Is your credit decent? And again, credit for us is not the deal breaker. We're very flexible on that, but we do look at it to try to understand where you've been, how you're managing things in general, and if there's anything negative, we want to understand what happened. And lastly, the last C I would say is COVID. Even though we're out of the pandemic, we're still feeling the aftershocks. A lot of it impacted so much, changed the conditions, changed markets. So that is something that we're still obviously living with, and probably for a long time. But all 7 C's and all that, it all boils down to, do you have the ability, do we assess that you have the ability to repay the loan? So that's what it all boils down. All the analysis, everything else, does it look like you will succeed as a business and have the ability to repay the loan? And by the way, let me add something on there. I tell people, potential clients, if the loan is not going to help you to make more money than it's going to cost you to get the loan, then don't get the loan. It's no good. It's no good for us, because it's going to be a drag on your business, and you might not survive. So you have to be very careful and go into this with eyes wide open. So it's a very strategic decision that you should take as a business, and needs to be applied very judiciously in a way that will have a significant impact on the improvement of your business. So again, it comes down to your ability to pay. Do you have the cash flow to pay it if things go sideways? Somebody could say, give me a big loan so that I can buy a piece of equipment, and then things will turn around. Well, again, lenders are not gamblers. They like to, like you've heard, a lot of times lenders will only lend you money if it looks like you don't need it, and there's a reason for that. And the point is that don't risk it all. Don't gamble it on a Hail Mary. If something should go wrong, or your forecasting is short, or market conditions change, or a competitor steps in to make your life miserable, do you have the cash flow at the moment to as it is now, to repay the loan? And that's why I say you have to be very careful when you're borrowing. Let's see. We look at cash flow versus expenses, both current and forecast. If you want to buy a tortilla machine because your demand is greatly outpacing the current one, well, we'll take that into consideration. What will it be when you get up to speed, to fulfill that demand? And we could even do interest only for a 6-month period to help you order the machine, set it up, and all that, instead of having you pay the full price right away, full monthly payment. We want to look at your business track record, and that can be your financials, your balance sheet, your P&L, and your past tax returns. Here's where I throw in some things that I see often. Cash, while great, is not something that is going to help you if you're not declaring it in your taxes. It's not going to help you with a loan. We've had people sort of whisper off stage, hey, by the way, but I make so much more money in cash, I just don't want to pay taxes. That unfortunately we can't use that. That's not part of the equation. So if your business is set that way, it is, and again, we acknowledge that business owners will try to reduce tax burden as much as possible. and whether you're not reporting something or you're, you know, doing the, you know, typical accounting dance to try to reduce your stated profitability and your tax impact, tax burden, that will affect your chances to have a loan. So if you know that at some point in the future you're gonna may need a loan, you know, you're gonna have to adjust your accounting and you know, to present your business in a strong way as possible to you know, again, sell us on the idea that your business is strong. Let's see. As I mentioned before, we're a nonprofit, and because of that, we can be very flexible. Like I said, with interest rates and terms, we really often want to, you know, understand your business, and because of that, even though we don't follow a checklist, that means that we ask a lot of, you know, tough questions, try to get to the gist of your business and what you need, how you're going to be using it. And again, it's nothing personal. We just really want to understand, because, you know, we get the money from other organizations, including the New Mexico SBIC. So we have to make sure that, you know, we're utilizing the citizens' tax money appropriately. But we, you know, come with that scrutiny comes flexibility. We again are looking to grow the New Mexico economy and create jobs and you know, make this a better place to live. And tying into the collateral question, because, you know, it's sort of in some ways, some people think of it as like a chicken or the egg problem. If you don't, you know, how can I get the business loan for my business if I don't, you know, have, for example, the collateral that's come from having a business? It's a tough one, but that's where the CAP program, you know, is a fantastic program to help, you know, bridge that gap. And again, this all goes back to, you know, the ability to repay. And one will be through cash flow, or, you know, heaven forbid, business fails, and now we have to try to recoup as much of that, you know, those funds, so that we can make a loan to the next guy. And you know, I think loan to value was one of the metrics used before, because, you know, if you put up your, you know, your 1970 Chevy truck, you know, even though you know it's maybe worth $10,000 or 20, odds are we won't get that full price. You know, we often will take. I mean, I think we've taken horses as collateral, black and white TVs, but we don't. You know, that's just to try to help. You know, at the end of the day, you know, the goal is to have a backup, and as Sam mentioned, you know, skin in the game. You know, we're putting skin in the game. We expect the borrower to have skin in the game. And first and foremost, the ability to repay it. Second is you know, if the business fails, do they have the personal ability to pay it? And third, if all else fails, is there collateral to try to sort of rescue the funds so that we can help the next guy? So that being said, you know, this all goes back to the application. The application for whatever lender you're going to work with it gives you a, you know, pretty clear snapshot of what they want, how they want to analyze your business. And also whether you need a loan now or in the future, I would recommend that you know, look over the several applications from different borrowers. And we have one, you know, on loanfund.org that you can look at. And with us, there is no, you know, we're not commission based at all either. So take a look. If you have questions, let us know. You know, if you need help with an application, we often recommend your local small business development centers, SCORE, West, economic development folks are great. You know, and even if you don't get a loan, I would recommend go through the process. It'll give you insight into how lenders think, what they're looking for, and how you can, you know, present your business in a strong a way possible, because you never know, you might need it in the future. So if you can, plan ahead, look at those applications, you know, make sure you have things, you know, and it's not on the business app, but, you know, things that lenders will look at sometimes, and is do you have a business account? You know, if you're tangled up with your personal, it makes it very hard to sort of extract the business numbers out of that and make sure that, you know, business is you know, running their business well. Let's see, if your credit score is low, you know, plan ahead. You know, that unfortunately that's a fact of life. And while we don't have a, you know, a line that we look at to whether to make a loan or not based on credit, it can only help if you improve your credit score. So I would recommend that, you know, you keep on top of your credit scores and try to remove any negative items, incorrect items, duplicate items. When you submit your application, you know, again, this is a sales piece. You're trying to sell, you know, your idea and your business and yourself to the lender. You know, submit it like, you know, as polished as you can. Fill it all out clearly, completely. You don't know how many times we get applications that are, you know, handwritten in ways, you know, and everybody's handwriting is different, but sometimes we can't read it. There are things scratched out. I think I got one recently that had whiteout on something, and you know, that just adds noise to the whole process. If I can't read it, if it's incomplete, if I have to ask questions, it doesn't, you know, it just muddies up the water. And you know, the guy next in line or the gal next in line who has it, you know, clean and polished is gonna get the focus while we send the other one back to hopefully get put together. Let's see, I have some notes here. If, you know, even if you're not gonna get a loan, you have your business plan, but have a, you know, well thought out business plan to submit with your application. You're trying to convince us that you know what you're doing, that we understand where you come from, who you are, how are you gonna, you know, grow your business, and, you know, reading between the lines, how are you gonna make New Mexico a better place, and strengthen our economy. That's what we're looking at. Let's see. So how do we do this? Review the application, gather the required documents, you know, try to be, and again, it's a sales. I can't stress that enough. You're selling. So be careful with it. Be professional. Make it easy for a lender to go, man, this entrepreneur knows, they're on top of this. And by the way, if somebody can't put together a loan application, that's a red flag. How are you going to run your business? How are you going to deal with the bureaucracies of the state and taxes and, you know, payroll and all this if you can't even fill out a, you know, 5-page application? So don't give us reasons to you know, look negatively upon your loan. Let us help you, I guess, to quote Jerry Maguire, right? Right. So fill it out thoroughly, neatly, clearly, and look at it from the point of view of the lender. And again, if you need help with some of that, you know, while we can answer some questions about the application specifically, if you need help with a business plan, with gathering your documents, with, you know, having a third party look at it, look at SBDC, SCORE, West, your local and state economic development folks, and put together your best presentation for the lender.
And that brings, so that's perfect. Thank you so much. That's been great. I know Casey was able to join us, which is great. He's in a training just about numbers and finance and processing things correctly. One of the questions I had is, and we also have another question in the Q&A, is related to that, you know, putting your best foot forward. And you mentioned the variety of different organizations that are out there. What other things, I mean, if they're going to say an SBDC or SCORE or West or one of the other organizations that helps, are there things like, is it getting your book straight? What other things would be really useful to make sure that they have fully in order before they really start the process of working with you or another lender?
You know, and that's where I go back. I think the first step in all of this is look at the application. Right? And you're a business person, you're trying to sell your product. In this case, the product is you, your business, and your idea. I'm the guy you're trying to convince. So look at the application, look at the things that I'm asking for before you start working on books. You know, the folks from SBDC and West and others, well, they can help with a lot of this. You know, you're going to need an accountant a lot of times, unless you're comfortable enough doing it yourself, which, you know, a lot of people are. And they can analyze it and tell you if something is missing. But I wouldn't expect them to do it for you, you know, to get your books straight. You know, either you do it or you get a
It's
bookkeeper.
usually paid work.
It is. Unless you do it yourself, which, you know,
Yeah.
a lot of people do it.
Mhm.
But, you know, it's also good to, even if you do it, have somebody else, you know, sort of look at it from a you know, outsider's perspective. They might see, before we look at it, hey, you know, how come you have this asset listed as this? Or, you know, how come you don't have health insurance listed as a personal expense or as a business expense? Which, by the way, it happens a lot. I've had one person tell me, well, I don't get sick. And again, those are red flags. Everybody gets sick eventually. You know, somebody could be in a car accident and need health insurance, and those are things that can, you know, ruin a business. You know, we talk to a lot of people who have gone bankrupt because of medical expenses, or have, you know, gotten credit hits. You know, it's like, imagine somebody coming to me looking for a loan for a you know, to buy a semi truck to deliver things, and they say, well, I'm not going to need, you know, car insurance, you know, or vehicle insurance. That's a threat. That's a red flag. That's something we don't want to see, and it's not going to help the case that, you know, this person knows what they're doing.
Let's see. Casey, I thought it sounded like you had a question. Let me go ahead and get me out of here.
Hey guys, I just wanted to one, thank you both Joaquin and Sam. Thank you guys for being here. This is such a great topic and so on point. I don't know if we discussed it, but Joaquin, what is the general turnaround time once an application is submitted? Is there I realize that probably everyone is individually reviewed, but is there a typical, you know, timeline?
You know, it's I hate to say this, but it varies a lot. Depends on the current pipeline, the number of applicants that we have, and, you know, as you can imagine, this goes up and down throughout the year. There are times when we, you know, we're unfortunately slammed with applications, and it's going to take longer. There are times when, you know, very few people have applied, and so now we can get things right away. So that being said, those are things that, in a way, out of our control. We can't determine that, but it goes back to having a complete, clear application. The fastest ones, they come in, they're clear, they're understandable, and as I mentioned before, if we have 100 applications and, you know, 99 of them are incomplete or messy, or we have questions, or, you know, and then one comes in that is just like shining, you know, and pristine, that one, you know, could very well just move up to the front of the line because it's ready to go. And while we're waiting for the other folks to answer questions or provide tax returns, you know, we might tackle that one if it's complete right away. So that's I know, a roundabout, vague way to answer it, but I've seen loans turn around, and it depends too on the amount, right? If it's above $100,000, it needs to go to loan committee, and that, you know, usually gets scheduled every week. So, but I would say the fastest I've seen is maybe 2 weeks. Something comes in at the right time, it's clear, it's put together right with all the information. We schedule the if necessary, a you know, loan committee review, and it's done. So that's, I don't know, hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, no, I think that's fantastic. And then I think my only other thing is, did you kind of go over, I mean, apologies, because I'm bouncing between a couple of meetings, but did you talk about the technical assistance that you guys offer and sort of, you know, sort of shepherding that paperwork for those applicants who maybe don't fill out the form as pristine as you would like?
Yeah, no, so thanks for reminding me of that. One of the I don't know, one of the things I love about Loan Fund, and as I think it goes back to it being a nonprofit, is that we do provide technical assistance. That can be, you know, help putting together an application. However, as you can imagine, you know, we can't fill out the application for a client. We can steer them the right direction and you know, clarify some things, but you know, we don't have the bandwidth to, you know, just sit with somebody and, you know, go field by field to fill it out. A lot of what we do in terms of technical assistance is help people after the loan. You know, if you know, they need a website built, if they want us to review their marketing plans and to be a sounding board for some of this. And again, we can't be, you know, full-time employees for any of these things, but we're here to help. So a lot of times our best customers are the ones who take us up on that and communicate with us, tell us if they're having trouble, and in which cases we sometimes can adjust our terms, or you know, try to help them in with the loan or with technical assistance to get to a rough patch. We do, again, and it all depends on the bandwidth and the workload at a moment. If you know, we're kind of going slow and you contact us, you know, I have a question about this, and this, and if I have the time, the bandwidth, I will gladly help them to understand the application and get it submitted. If I'm slammed or I'm out on the road, and you know, again, we're a small team, then that makes it tougher, which is why we love working with our other community partners, and sort of share the love. You know, the SBDCs and West and SCORE and economic development, you know, you guys, you know, while you can't do, you know, everything for somebody, there are a lot of resources out there that people should take advantage of and you know, reach out to for any assistance with applications or to get their documents together.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I think it really goes back to our overall message with economic development, that it is an ecosystem and it is about utilizing all the partners. And I think that's what this series has been so helpful in sharing, is just getting that information out that, hey, maybe you do want to submit to the loan fund, but maybe you do need to reach out to these other partners first to get your stuff in order, to get the technical assistance, and to get yourself on the right track so that you can, in fact, streamline the process when it comes time to actually submit.
Absolutely. Yep.
Well, guys, I thank you so much. I have to bounce back to this procurement meeting before I end up in the principal's office. But thank you again. Thank you all so much for being here. I'll turn it back over to Eric. You're doing a great job. Thank you so much. And we'll see you next time.
Yeah, thanks, Casey, for joining us. We've got Joanna, and we're almost at time. So I want to thank you, Joaquin, for joining us here today. We'll be sharing more information about the loan fund. We put it in the chat, but of course we'll also put it up on our page with the coming video. So that's good. I've only got like a minute or so for I've only got a minute or so for last minute's wrap up here. So we wanted to mention a couple of things. Our next session with OED Online should be on October 2nd. So that is, let's see, we believe we've got the SBI on there, and I know that they've got a new program that I did want to mention. So in the chat, I noted our newsletter, which has information about lots of different activities, but also resources as well, and some news that are relevant to Santa Fe business. The New Mexico Small Business Administration Office has got this new program called the Ascent Training Program. It's sort of like an accelerator for small business. And they've got a couple of information sessions coming up soon, September 12th and 14th. So you'll find out information if you go to the link there in the chat. We are a sponsor of the Outdoor Recreation, is a big deal for us. We're a sponsor of the New Mexico Outdoor Economics Conference, and that's going to be here in Santa Fe on the 23rd to the 25th. But if you've got an outdoor recreation business, there's an additional opportunity to pitch. It's called the Adventure Pitch on stage. Applications for that open today with CNM Ingenuity, and there's some information there on the page. Last thing I shared in the chat is we've got a telenovela series that one of my colleagues here helped put together with Santa Fe Chamber of Commerce, and it really helps show the path for businesses to get the registration, the licensing and registration they need to do business here in New Mexico. So we're really, really happy about how that's being received. Good to see, yeah, we've got Joaquin's email in there. So I just want to thank everybody, thank our presenters, thank the team here at Office of Economic Development, and thank everybody who's able to join us here today. We're hopeful that this is going to go online within the next couple of days. It is actually already online at Facebook, so that's good too. We hope to see you here again. And if you've got questions about doing business here in Santa Fe, please be in touch. Thanks again.